We're getting ready to put this Civic Si transmission in today. So you remember last week's video took out the old transmission from the EG. That was the CX transmission, which is the total worst transmission as far as racing. Economy wise, it's great, but around the track, I was second gear almost the whole way. And so we're getting ready to put the 92, 95 Civic Si or Del Sol Si transmission in today. One of the first things we're gonna be tackling is getting the clutch pressure plate, clutch disc, and flywheel off. I'm gonna take a look at the rear main seal and see if that needs replacing from the engine. And then, let's see, I'll be comparing the old clutch disc that I have with the new one that I got, see which one should go in, put that all back together, then get the trans back up in there. And this guy brought his car and his jack. This jack.
Hey.
Hi, that's Trav.
It's me.
The jack is hopefully gonna help us. We're gonna put the transmission on there and raise it up into the car. That is the plan anyway. And that one there is the old one, and that is the new one. And that's a cup. Starting with the clutch pressure plate. We got the, that's Trav pointing at it. We got the impact gun here, and this is one of those star spline deals. This is a 10mm socket. It's these bolts right here going around the sides. You'll remember from our other video. We're just gonna go ahead and start blasting those off. Come out nice and easy with the gun, that's for sure. Sorry, dude.
No, you're fine.
You okay?
Yeah.
Killing Trav. Here's the clutch
The disc
pressure plate. Yeah, I saw the disc go. And there's the disc. It's like a frisbee. Someone has been here before. This is the old pressure plate, and Trav noticed it's actually an Exetti plate. I'm wondering if it just is kind of worn, because when I was out there driving this thing, like, all of the action happens at the very beginning of the throw. Like, you press the clutch and it all is at the front of it. Here was the old clutch disc, also an Exetti. And this is the one that we got from the junkyard. And what do you think, Trav?
They both look equally worn.
Right. Definitely, I think the old, or the pressure plate I'm gonna be changing. This was off the Del Sol, and this one felt really nice at the junkyard, so I think that one's gonna be going back.
We're gonna take the flywheel off now.
Yep. Whoa! Rear main seal down in there, kids. And what we're going to do, because there's a lot of different speculation and whatnot too on the interwebs, that we're gonna weigh this guy. 15.4 pounds. Huh, interesting. So we had a bunch of different numbers I saw online. So 15.4 pounds is the weight of my D15 B8 flywheel. Who knows if that was changed or what. Like everything, you start going and then you gotta stop because you got something that went wrong. Or not wrong, but essentially this car has always had a wicked oil leak, and Trav pretty much found it when we finally got down under there. Some of the bolts were actually missing from the back of the oil pan. Oh my God. I ended up getting a new oil pan gasket. Trav is actually gonna get going on the rear main seal. So maybe you'll see some time lapse of that now. Got the engine supported, 2 stands, getting the last little bits for the oil pan gasket. Gonna be dropping the oil pan in a sec. I need the screwdriver over here. This is the gasket here. We gotta get off.
Yeah. I even put a gasket. I'm gonna put it in bolts.
Yeah. Keep pulling from that side, that'll be easier. There you go. Great. We had some purple power all on the outside of the oil pan here. And just go ahead and clean it up while it's outside the car. Back up at the rear main seal. Finally getting it off, and I had to use the screwdriver and kind of wedge it in between there. And now it just boop, comes off.
Yeah.
The rear main seal is stuck in there. We're gonna go ahead and smash that out the back. All right, so just popping out the rear main seal here, the old one. Hammer. Seems to use the hammer a lot lately. I went through it there, but it's poking out somewhat. You just gotta kind of work your way around it. You see it's starting to come out there. So just work my way around it. So it pretty much just press it on in. Flat surface up here. This part actually goes against
The engine.
And yeah, just pressed in. Rear main seal going back on. And the gasket is already behind there, just so you know, YouTube. Alright, so rear main seal all done, bolted down. Now let's mess with the oil pan gasket. It's crazy, man, they make these new gaskets in like such crazy colors. So I got a nice blue gasket here to go on the cleaned up oil pan. I'm really hoping this solves the issue, man, of the oil leaking. Here is the new flywheel, and I'm gonna be putting the new pilot bearing in there. Now this side right here is the back of the flywheel. You know that by when you tilt it up, you see the front looks very different. The back is kind of recessed. So the reason for me saying that is the back of it has this hole right here, and you can see the little lip on the inside there. That's where the pilot bearing sits in. So we take our pilot bearing, kind of put it down in there, and then we just give it light little taps with the hammer to seat it in. This is a rubber mallet, by the way. Kind of seat that thing in there. And that's hitting this outer edge, not the rubber part. And it's only gonna go so far because of that lip, and looks like it is properly installed. Back up at the engine bay. So I got the flywheel, the back goes towards the engine, and all I'm doing here is starting one of the threads. Gas saddle on there. Then I'm gonna go keep putting all these in. So the next part, we take our torque wrench set to 87 foot-pound, and we need to torque those flywheel bolts down there. Now you need to be able to keep the flywheel straight and not turn, because essentially you're gonna turn the whole crankshaft. So what I've learned is to wedge the hammer in there, right in between the teeth and the block, and then when we're turning and cranking on it, that will prevent it from spinning, and you can torque it to the correct 87 foot-pound spec. This part is a total pain, but it's kind of what you gotta do. These bolts right here have to be torqued to 87 foot-pound, those flywheel bolts, and it is not recommended that you use the impact gun. Like, you cannot use the gun. So what I did was go ahead and wedge this hammer in between the teeth and the sides of the block casing, and you just start to crank on it and the hammer just kind of wedges itself in there. So all those are torqued to 87 foot-pound. And now we'll go ahead and do the clutch disc and pressure plate. Here is the clutch disc that I'm using. This is the Exity clutch disc that came out of the car originally. I'm gonna be using this again. And one thing to note is that you see how there's kind of two sides to it, like this side sticks up and this side is flat. The flat side goes against the engine block, so that this side that sticks out is facing the transmission. The other part that I have here is a clutch pressure plate. This, you'll notice, has these holes going around the outside. I'll show you here in a sec. They line up with some dowel pins that are sticking out on the flywheel. So we go ahead and mate those two up, and then we'll use the clutch tool, the alignment tool, to make sure that everything is aligned. What we need to do first here is make sure that this part of the flywheel is all clean. So I'm using brake parts cleaner and a nice, you can find a clean side of this rag, and just go ahead and hit it with the cleaner. This is to get all the grease off and any spots that would have been on the flywheel, just to make it nice and clean. And then we'll go ahead and do the same with this side of the clutch pressure plate. This one obviously is used, but I'm just making sure there's no gunk on the surface of it. Yeah. Using the clutch alignment tool on the clutch disc here. Again, this part that's sticking up is facing out. So we go ahead, slot that guy in there for right now. Like that. And get the pressure plate. Okay, so I didn't show you the pressure plate just being pressed on, but essentially there are, here I have my old one I can show you. There are different holes for the dowels to go through. Like, these are for the big screws, you know, but then this little hole here is for a dowel pin that's sticking up out of the flywheel. See that little pin going there? There's 3 of those going around. 1, 2, and 3, and you just kind of got to play with it and see what works, because it's kind of hard to see probably, but this is a smaller gap than this up here, and so there's only one way to put the thing on. So just take a look at it, take a look at yours, and you know, you'll see how it sits on there, and you kind of got to almost hammer it into place so that it'll stay. But what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to take these star bolts here. I'm gonna put just a little dab of thread locker on them, and then I'm gonna start to hand tighten them in there. I'm just getting these guys hand tight at the moment. So what you saw me doing there was just hand tightening these with the regular wrench, not the torque wrench yet. Just the regular wrench, going around hand tightening these in the crisscross pattern. Sorry, this thing keeps getting in the way. In the crisscross pattern, you know, the star pattern. And these bolts need to be torqued down to 19 foot-pound.